Okay, hopefully you find your email, or you can use a different email. You can still join at any point. You will just be joining in the middle of whatever I'm presenting at that moment. We're going to get started, okay? So, we are prepping for our final exam. That's what we're doing today and tomorrow. So you will be practicing citing evidence, producing elements of an essay, and using proper formatting when writing within this lesson to prepare you for your final exam. You're going to be working with discussion boards and little fun quizzes, and you're going to be working on textual evidence, quotes, formatting your papers in MLA, writing three-part thesis statements, and writing transition sentences and transition words and phrases. Okay, when you see a slide like this, you're going to be on, I'm going to go through each slide, but there are those gray boxes on the side. When I ask you to move to slide 2 or 3 or 4, you will move down to those by either clicking the gray boxes or scrolling down your screen, as you can see on Teams. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Most of this should probably be review, but I would suggest paying very close attention, as this is going to help you get through your final exam. And tomorrow, likely, I will give you a fill-in-the-blank sheet that you can go back and use with this PowerPoint in order to have an awesome resource for your exam as well. Okay, but we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. So, quotations. So we've been working with quotations within soapstones and within our writing. It's really important. Quotations or textual evidence, they're really significant to your writing and elevating your writing to the next level. A quotation is the reproduction of a group of words from original text or speech. We use quotations in papers to strengthen our argument, introduce a fresh idea or perspective, and or support our point of view on a subject. So if I want to reference somebody who might have a higher merit in a specific field that I want to support my claims or my ideas, I will use a quotation to back up my thoughts. Quotations are also known as evidence or textual evidence. We've referred to them as both in this class. It is important to support your thoughts with evidence, but the majority of your papers should contain your original writing. When you choose to draw on quotations, make sure that you integrate the quote as smoothly as possible. I've talked about that in week 5. In my own writing, I really like to make sure that my quotations fit smoothly into my own sentences, rather than just copying and pasting my quote and making a quote its own sentence. It's a lot nicer when your paper is using your own original words and then including a quote to elevate your sentence to a higher level. And I'm going to show you how to do that on slide 3. But in order to do that, you must offer context, so offer what you're going to be talking about, attribute the quotation to its original source, explain the significance of the quotation, and cite the quotation appropriately. Quotation citing is a really big thing, and we're going to work on that as well. And by explaining the significance of the quotation, I mean you can't just leave a quotation and not explain why you included it. So if you're going to reference the reading that you are writing about, or reference a specific like research document or article or anything of that nature, you need to include it into your sentence, but then also explain why it's important. So why it matters to your writing, why it matters to your thesis statement, why it's important to your paper. It can't just be left there with no context, okay? You can move on to slide 2, pretty please. It's quotations continued. So, like I said, quotations are the exact words taken from a source. Quotations are useful when the source has written an idea exactly as you would like to use it in your writing. So if you really would like to say something in that way and this person has a merit, like a degree, or they're scientists, or they're the author of the book, and like you are using their words to basically emphasize what you want to say because you would like to say exactly what that person is saying. Whereas a paraphrase is a short summary of what you read in the source. When you paraphrase, you're using your own words, whereas a quote is someone else's words. You might choose to paraphrase when the source is a little longer than you want to include in your own writing. So if you would like to include like this entire paragraph or entire 3 sentences from a reading or an article or things of that nature, but you don't want to use all of that, because you shouldn't use really long quotes, by the way. Your quotes should only be like a couple words long or part of a sentence. You never want to copy and paste multiple sentences in as a quote. So in order to refrain from doing that, you can paraphrase a section of a reading or writing. So paraphrasing, you write a summary of what you read and put it into your own words, and you would choose to do this when the source is longer, or you just would rather say things in your own word, but you still have to make sure to cite it. A paraphrase still needs to be cited because you're technically still taking a section of a text. You're just putting it into your own words, but then I know you're referencing somebody else for those thoughts. Using outside sources is a great way to make your paper stronger. Like I said, it elevates your paper to the next level, especially when you can embed your quotes properly. And embedding is what's on slide 3. So go ahead and move on to slide 3. Okay, so slide 3, embedding quotes. When using quotes as evidence, it is important to include them smoothly into sentences. So by smoothly, I mean starting the sentence of your own words, or something of that nature, where most of the sentence begins with your own thought, but then it finishes with the other person's thought. But they're the same, like it equals the same, your whole thought. So if you look at the example, you're going to notice the process of choosing a quote, selecting the most important part of that quote, and then embedding the important phrase into its own sentence. So it might be a little blurry, or you might not be able to see that writing. You will have a sheet with it later, but I'm going to read it to you. This is something you guys can do when you're, as a part of your outlining process, for like writing an essay and things. You can do this. So you can make your own little kind of T-chart in a way. So you can write the quote you have selected down. So this quote is, "She came to think of that act as marking the lowest and saddest moment of her whole life." So that's the whole quote, but you only need to take the most important part of that quote. You don't need to take the whole sentence and copy and paste it into your paper as its own sentence. So the most important part of that quote would be the lowest and saddest moment of her whole life. So then you take that part of the quote and you add it to your sentence. So this person's sentence was, "When Mrs. Nakamura sold her sewing machine to pay the doctor, comma, it was, quotation mark, the lowest and saddest moment of her whole life," close quotation mark. And then it's cited as well. So that is how you would begin to embed your quotes smoothly. That is a process that you can do during your outlining. You can list the quotes that you think you would want to use, or even we make you guys do annotations. You can do that in your annotations, or think about how you're going to embed those quotes, or highlight, this would be a smart way, highlight your quote, and then in a comment, just select the most important part of the quote, or highlight the most important part of that quote, and then write in a note or a comment on the side, "I want to use this in my essay." So that's a good way to start that process and then you can start embedding quotes rather than just copying and pasting what the other person is saying and relying on that to support your ideas. Okay, moving on. So this one has the slides on the side as well. So citations. An in-text citation is a brief reference in your text that indicates the source you consulted. So usually you will have to do works cited or bibliography pages. We haven't been making you do them because as of right now, we know exactly what source you're getting your information from. So it's not the end of the world right now to do that. And that is where the citation comes in handy, because we can refer back to the reading or refer to whatever text you got your quote from and say, oh, they found this here. And it makes sure that we know that you're not plagiarizing anything. So an in-text citation is a brief reference in your text that indicates the source you consulted. In general, the in-text citation will be in this format: the author's last name or an abbreviated title. So if you can't find the author's name, you usually use an abbreviated title of the piece. So for Safety of Numbers, it's a pretty short title. If we did not know Safety of Numbers was written by Lucy Tan, I believe, then it would be parentheses, Safety of Numbers, your page number or your paragraph number, so let's say like 4, and then close parentheses, period. That's how you would cite a reference where you can't find the author's name, okay? Otherwise, it would be author's last name, page number, and they're enclosed in parentheses. Okay, moving on to the next slide. It's an example. So these are 3 different examples. One, Wordsworth is, the author is referenced at the beginning of the sentence, so his last name is not in the citation. The second one, the author's name is not referenced at all in the sentence, so his last name and the page number are in the citation. And the third one is a paraphrase, but the author is referenced in the sentence, but they still cite the page number that they found that information on. So Wordsworth stated that romantic poetry was marked by a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and then it's followed by the page number because Wordsworth was already mentioned. Romantic poetry is characterized by the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Wordsworth 263 because he was not mentioned yet. And then in the third example, Wordsworth extensively explored the role of emotion in the creative process, and his name was referenced, and it's a paraphrase, so there's no quotation marks, but it's still cited. So if you go to slide 3, it addresses the variations that we just kind of saw. So like I had said, the author was referenced in some of those sentences, which meant that you did not have to include their last name in the citation. So it's called a signal word or phrase. So if you provide a signal word or phrase, but it's typically the author's last name, in your sentence, the citation does not need to include that information as well. So like we had said, Wordsworth was the first word in 2 of those sentences, so it didn't need to be referenced in the parentheses citation. In this case, these examples say humans have been described by Kenneth Burke, author's name, as symbol-using animals, and then it's parentheses, page 3, parentheses, period. So that's how that one would be referenced if his name's in the sentence as a signal word or phrase. And then if it's not used, humans have been described as symbol-using animals, parentheses, Burke, the page number 3, and parentheses, period. So that is how that would look. If you go to slide 4, we talked about this a little bit in week 5. It's not something you guys have to do necessarily, just if you would like to start practicing it. It is a good way to make your papers flow more smoothly sometimes. It's by adding and omitting words from a quote. So in order to add words to a quote, you would use square bracket parentheses, and then you would add your extra words into those brackets. So in this first example, it says Jan Harold Brun Van in an essay on urban legends states some individuals, bracket parentheses, who retell urban legends, end bracket parentheses, make a point of learning every rumor or tale. So if you wanted to add something into the sentence that isn't originally there from the source, but it explains your thought better by adding a couple words, then you should add it with the bracket parentheses. That's how you would do that, with the square parentheses. If you wish to get rid of words or omit words or leave out a section of sentences or words from your quotation to make things flow better, usually this is if you have a couple sentences and something from the beginning of the first sentence, it really works for your thought process, and so does something from the end of the second or third sentence. So you would use an ellipses, which is the 3 dots, to leave out those in between words or sentences that you don't need, that are not important to your actual thought for that sentence. So that would look like this. In an essay on urban legends, Jan Harold Brun Van notes that some individuals make a point of learning every recent rumor or tale, ellipses, and in a short time, a lively exchange of details occurs. So sometimes it's just better to leave things out because it makes the sentence flow better. Usually it's more of like a section or something like of that nature to make things work out better for what you're trying to say. Moving on. Okay, MLA format. MLA format was a big one that I saw in a lot of your guys' essays. We really struggled with MLA format, and likely tomorrow I'm going to go over exactly what these things look like in Word, but right now I'm just going to give you the explanation for them. But we will go over it tomorrow. I will show you how to do it. We will talk about it. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you guys can take your own notes on how to do that, or just listen closely so you don't forget. Okay? So MLA format. I'm not sure if any of you guys actually know what MLA stands for. You might not. No one really told me most of the time. But MLA stands for Modern Language Association. There are other styles of writing, which include APA, Chicago style, and there's others as well, I believe, but Chicago and APA and MLA are the most common you will likely hear. But the reason that there's all these different types of formatting for papers is that certain subject areas have certain formats that are required for essays. This can apply to college courses in certain subjects, as well as certain jobs that might require writing of a certain style or format. Usually English, history, what we call humanities subjects are MLA format, which we're working with right now, and we're in English. Look at that. And APA is usually for sciences, so any science or research papers and things of that nature are usually written in APA. And Chicago, I've only really used occasionally when I was a journalism student. And I've only used Chicago, I think, once, and I don't even remember what it looks like or what it requires. So, yeah, but you have to use these, especially like certain jobs may require reports to be written in certain styles and formats. So you might want to be really well versed in Word and other Microsoft tools. So, by requiring a certain style or format, this means that the appearance, citations, and works cited page all need to conform to the standards and rules of that format style. So we're working in MLA, so if you move to slide 2, there are 4 things to consider when setting up your paper for MLA format. The 4 key things to make your paper MLA style. So that would be the font, the spacing, the margins, the name, your name, and the title. So if you go to slide 3, the font of an MLA style paper should likely always be Times New Roman unless instructed otherwise by an instructor who allows a different similar font such as Arial, but Times New Roman is the most well-known basic font that is across the board acceptable, basically. So always remember Times New Roman. The color of the font should always be black, no crazy colors. And I know sometimes in a Word document, certain things stay underlined in certain colors. Like I know when we reference Common Lit in citations, there was the thing saying, oh, this isn't like a real word or it's misspelled and things of that nature. Certain things will show up as misspelled, and that's okay, but your actual words always need to be black, okay? The size of the font needs to be 12-point font. That includes your name, your heading, and the title. So it all has to be 12-point font. Don't change it. Do not change your title to other font either. I know we all think, oh, the title should be big and pretty and different colors and underlined and bold. No, just black, 12-point Times New Roman, okay? If you move on to slide 4, spacing. Okay, spacing. Every line in an MLA style format paper should be double spaced. One of the common mistakes I've seen that happens is that you, as students, try to double space by pressing enter twice after every line you finish writing, or pressing the space bar twice between every word, or I don't know, things like that, of trying to make things double spaced or what you think might be double spaced. I'm going to show you guys that later in Word, but the actual icon for Word is a little square, and it has about 4 lines, and it has 1 arrow going up and 1 arrow going down, and it has about 6 or 7 options on line spacing, but you want to pick 2 for doubled. So many word processing programs, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, they have that double spacing option. So you just have to make sure you set that option before you begin writing. And we will go over that tomorrow. I'll show you exactly where it is, what it looks like, how to do it, all of that good stuff. But it has to be double spaced. All right, slide 5, margins. So in an MLA style paper, the space between your text and the side of the page, that's your margin. Your margins on your page have to be 1 inch all the way around the paper. So that means no matter where your words are at on the paper, whether it's the bottom of the page or the top of the page, your words should be 1 inch from the side of the page. Many programs like Word is usually basically defaulted to this spacing of 1 inch margins as a default, but always double check your margins before you begin writing, just in case, because it's an important thing to make sure to get your formatting points. You don't want to accidentally not check your margins and then lose points because your margins weren't 1 inch apart, okay? It's super simple. I'll show you how to do that as well. It's usually already set and it shouldn't be that big of a deal, okay? Moving on, your name and title. Slide 6. So in MLA format, your name should appear in the left-hand corner, upper corner, okay? No title page, no separate page, just your information in the left-hand upper corner. And you need to have the following information, and it should all match the font, spacing, and margins of the rest of your paper. So you'll have your full name, your professor or teacher's name, your class name, and the date the paper is due. So you'd type out your full name, Miss Lehman, and then you'd hit enter. You'd type in your professor or teacher's name, Dr. Bragg. You'd hit enter. Your class name, this is English 3 right now, English 3, enter, and then the date your paper is due. The day your paper is due, and you'll write it in the universal date format. So if I was writing this paper and it was due today, I would enter 24 September 2020. No commas, no nothing, just the regular capital on September, and it would be 24 September 2020. That's how you write a date in universal format. So that's how your dates should be written when you write an essay, okay? Your title. Your title should be in the same font as the rest of your paper. You need to align your title to the center of your page. I'll show you what button that is tomorrow. You need to align your title to the center of your page. Press enter once. So after you finish your name and teacher's name, the class name, the date, you would hit enter after the date, align your page to the center, write in your title, then hit enter, realign your paper to the left-hand side, and indent your first paragraph and begin writing. Okay? So I will definitely show you guys what that looks like tomorrow, and we're going to practice it, but that's the quick explanation of that process. So it would be, I'm changing it to Times New Roman, I'm changing it to 12-point font, I'm changing everything to be double spaced, I'm making sure my margins are set to 1 inch, and then I'm going to the left-hand corner, putting in my full name, my teacher's name, my class name, my date that it's due, then I'm hitting enter, and my title, realigning it to the left, and starting my writing. So you would then already have everything set up, so you don't have to go back and make sure things are within the MLA format style, okay? If you go to slide 7, you can see exactly what that would look like. So on slide 7, there's this picture. It shows you how the 1-inch margins look. It shows you your name, the supervisor name, the course name, the due date. All of this is double spaced. The title of the paper is in the center, but then it's realigned back to the left-hand side. There's the 1/2-inch indent on the side the 1/2-inch indent before beginning your paragraph, and then your header at the top as well, and I'll explain how to do a header as well. Okay, moving on. Okay, I know that was a lot of information at one time, so we're breaking it up with a quick game. This is called Time to Climb. It's a multiple choice little quiz where you get to watch your person move. It's kind of like Kahoot, if that helps any of you. I love Kahoot. I don't know how many of you have played Kahoot. I'm a very competitive individual, so I love Kahoot and games. So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna use this space background, and you're just going to choose a character. You can go to use those arrows to pick more characters if you would like to, and then click start once you pick your character. It's a fun little game. I promise the questions are all just review questions about what we just went over, so you got it, and I believe in you. I got 6 players right now. I have 18 people in here. I would like to get all of you in this game if we could. Pretty please. I promise it's fun. You guys are all in space right now. Pick whatever character you wish. It really doesn't matter. Some of them are a little different than others. I have 12 players. I need 18. Give me a couple more. Come on. got 14 players. It gives you guys about a minute to answer each of these questions. There's only 4 questions, I believe, on this first one. If you aren't sure, you can always just guess. Some answer is usually better than no answer. Make an educated guess. I have 16 players. 16 out of 18. I only need 2 more. Give me my 2 more. Come on. You can do it. All right. 3, 2, and we're starting. If your stuff doesn't load, don't worry about it. It's just a quick review quiz. Sorry if it doesn't. This game takes a lot of energy, I think. Just a quick heads up. Okay, so what style font should an MLA paper be written? It's also kind of like Kahoot, where if you know the answer it as fast as you can, but take your time, don't miss answer, because I think the quicker you answer, the faster you move forward, or the more you move forward, I think. Waiting for FA1 to answer. And Dr. Bragg's not going to answer for you, so you can't cheat off of her off of Teams. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Get your answers in. 3, 2, 1. So the answer is Times New Roman. Okay, next question. How should the date be written in MLA style? Choose the correct example. What is the universal date format? What is the universal date format? How should it be written? Take a guess if you aren't sure. 10, 8, 5, 3, 2, 1. So it should be the day, the month, the year, no commas, no nothing. What is the order of information that goes in the top left-hand corner of your paper? What order? $15, $14. Take a guess if you weren't sure. 10, 8, 6, 3, 2, 1. So it should be your name, your teacher's name, the class info, and the date it's due. Last question. Race to the top. What size should the margins be on your MLA style paper? Quick answer, quick answer. Good job, you guys. It's okay. I can't go back and solve it, Angel, but that's part of these games. The accidental clicks, it happens to me all the time in Kahoot because I try and answer things too quickly. I totally feel your pain. 3, 2, 1. All right. Game over. Great job, Bryant, Sophia, Octavio, Nicholas, Melvin, Rodrigo, Jamila, Priscilla, everyone. I'm a very competitive person too, and that's why I love these. I have a problem with Kahoot, and like my Spanish class, it was an issue, especially because we would get like little extra credit coupon kind of things. It's a problem. I'm way too competitive. Okay, so these are fill in the blanks, guys. It's same kind of concept of just what we were talking about, a little review. These are fill in the blanks. You need to drag and drop from the word bank into the boxes. Try and make sure they're aligned as possible. That way you can get them exactly in there and it won't pop them back down into the word bank. So every line in an MLA style format paper should be blank blank. Your blank needs to be aligned to the blank of your page, and the bulk of your paper needs to be aligned to the blank side of your page. I can see when you guys have answered. Good job, good job. And if you guys like the time to climb stuff, there's one more in here. So in this whole slide thing. So be ready. Pay attention. Close attention. It's coming. Good job, you guys. I can see your responses. Got mostly 5s out of 5s. Good job, good job. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need about 5 more people. Fill in your blanks. About 5 more people. Fill in those blanks, guys. Make sure we're all on track. One, 2, 3. 3 more people. You got it. You got it. I believe in you. Alrighty. So your responses should be, where is it? Every line in an MLA style format paper should be double spaced. Your title needs to be aligned to the center of your page, and the bulk of your paper needs to be aligned to the left-hand side of your page. Good job. Mostly everyone got 5 out of 5. That's awesome. All right, moving on. Here are some general mistakes that I've seen with Word. You must indent every new paragraph, not just the first one, but every new paragraph. Each body paragraph, your concluding paragraph, your introduction paragraph, all of them. To do this, you need to use the tab button on your keyboard above the caps lock button on your Chromebook before starting a new paragraph. Please don't hit the space bar a bunch of times trying to guess about how far into the paper you should be. Use the tab button. I promise it's a lot easier. It's one button rather than hitting your space bar 20 times. Okay. Remember, again, align your title to the center of your page, then realign your paper to the left-hand side to begin the paragraphs for your essay. Also, again, do not do anything special to your title. I know it looks fun and whatnot, but please don't do it. In order to make it MLA format, you don't want to do it. Okay? All right. Transitions. Okay, so I know most of you probably can't see that image, the table, but that table is in your notes and it's also in the regular PowerPoint. I know it's kind of hard to see, and I'll kind of talk about what's in the table if you can't see it. But transition words and phrases are used to relate ideas. Writers may use transitions within paragraphs or between paragraphs so that ideas flow smoothly between sentences and between paragraphs. The following table provides some common transitions and how they are used. So you want to use these in order to connect your ideas. So whether that's between sentence to sentence, or to start a new paragraph, or between body paragraphs to make sure all of your ideas flow and it doesn't sound choppy, if that makes sense. For the phrases they give you, the use of them is in the left-hand column, and then how they would be said, the actual phrase or word, is in the right-hand column. So the use to add. So if you're adding something on to a statement, you would use words like and, again, and then, besides, equally important, finally, further, furthermore, etc. If you're comparing things, you might want to use but, yet, on the other hand, however, nevertheless, in comparison, in contrast, things of that nature. If you want to use to prove, you would say because, for, since, obviously, evidently, things of that nature, etc. To show time or a sequence, you would say immediately, thereafter, soon, finally. To give an example, you would use words or phrases like for example, for instance, in this case, on this occasion, in this situation, to illustrate, to summarize or conclude, so maybe for your concluding paragraph or for the end of a paragraph. On the whole, summing up, to conclude, in conclusion, as I have shown, as I have said, etc. To emphasize, you could use words like definitely, obviously, in fact, absolutely, positively, naturally, surprisingly, etc. To repeat, you can say as I have said, as I have noted, in brief, as has been noted. So these are all words and phrases you can use in your sentences to make things connect better and to explain your reasonings or to conclude up your paragraph or things of that nature. Okay? So to recap on what that video said, 3-part thesis statements, okay? A thesis statement is 1 to 2 sentences that appear at the end of the introductory paragraph. Usually about 1. They can be a little bit longer, more complicated sentences, or you can break them up into 2 sentences. It just depends. But it's usually about 1, and it's at the end of your intro paragraph so that we can be led into your body paragraphs. A thesis statement consists of your opinion on the topic and your support for your opinion or your argument, okay? An effective thesis statement responds directly to the prompt's instructions. So we have given you guys prompts to answer to. So you need to make sure when you're writing your thesis, you need to ask yourself, does this answer the prompt? Does this tell the prompt what I think about this topic or what I'm going to write about for the prompt? Okay? The reasons you list in your thesis statement will turn into your body paragraph's topic sentences. That's typically in the case of the 3-part thesis, and that's why we have you guys write a 3-part thesis. So, for example, the prompt for the Freud writing. How is Freud's theory relevant to your own life? Dr. Bragg gave the example, Freud's theory is relevant to my life because of my own id, ego, and superego. So she stated it's relevant to her life. She stated because of her own id, ego, and superego, which also relates back to Freud's theory, which we're referring to. So then those those reasons that are listed in the thesis statement, id, ego, and superego, are her body paragraphs. Like we had made in the outline, it became about your id, ego, and your superego. Okay, so a little formula for your thesis statements would be your thesis statement equals your opinion or your argument or your side of the argument plus supporting evidence. Your thesis statements state what your essay is going to be about, but you should not be writing, this essay is going to be about Cheetos. Sorry, I can't think of anything better. This essay is going to be about Cheetos. That's not a thesis statement. That is an announcement, what we call an announcement. So if you're writing, this essay is going to be about Cheetos, or I will write about Cheetos, that's an announcement. You're telling me I'm going to write about this, not stating what your opinion or your argument is, if that makes sense. Those are very simple statements, so we would rather call them announcements rather than real thesis statements. You want to try and stay away from those, okay? So now we're going to go through and do a little more review quizzes and a little bit of writing. And then I have a closing question for you guys, and then we'll probably be ready to wrap up right about then. Okay, so in this is a poll. You have about a little bit to answer the poll. Under the timer that you see in the corner, the 2-minute timer, there will be an image. If you double click on that image, it will blow up where you can see these 2 different thesis statements. I want you to vote either A or B on which thesis statement is stronger. So you see the picture underneath the timer, double click on it, blow it up, statement A and statement B, read them, determine which thesis statement is stronger, thinking back on everything we just read and heard, and vote A or B. Got a minute left. Make your vote. 1, 2, 3 more people need to vote, I think. $30 seconds. 1 more person needs to vote. 1 more person needs to vote. Okay. 10, 7, 4, 2, 1. Okay, so your time's up. So I have the percentages on what the votes were. 72% of us said statement A was a stronger thesis statement. 11% of us said statement B is a stronger thesis statement, and 16% of us did not answer. Okay, so, but 2 of those 16% is teachers, so. All right. Okay, so thinking back on what we just did, that thesis statement, you can blow the picture up again if you need to read them again. but I want you to use this space. Nobody can see your name when you write your response. But why was the thesis statement you chose stronger than the other one? And what were some weaknesses in the other statement that you didn't choose? So why do you think thesis statement A or B, whichever one you chose, was stronger than the other one? What makes you think that? And what were some weaknesses in the opposite one that made you not choose that one? So you can write just a short little explanation and then press post, and I will look at it and post it to this as a discussion board, and nobody has to see that you wrote it. It's completely anonymous. You don't gotta worry about it, and we're just gonna go over the responses. Okay, so someone said statement A was stronger because it added more details in the statistics and fact, and statement B was pretty bland and just the statement, no explanation. Okay, anyone else? Anyone that chose statement B? Statement A gave more information than the other one. The other thesis was weak and needed more info to be more interested. I like that one too. Let's get a couple more responses. Anyone who feels statement B was the right choice? Statement A had a lot more information about the homelessness. Statement B was lacking details and only had the claim. I like that answer. Thesis statement A was better because it gave a little more info instead of just saying it was just bad, that it was just bad. Thesis A was stronger because it had a claim and 3 reasons, and thesis B only had a claim with no reasons to back up their claim. Good. Statement A is stronger because it states that homeless people deserve better and it gives examples on how to improve their situation. Statement B was plain and lacked information. Statement A had more information and B didn't have any details. Statement A is more specific than B and only had 1 reason. Awesome. Any of my statement B people, don't be afraid to back yourself up. If you believe in your statement choice, gotta back it up. Statement A included more and gave much more details than statement B, which made it a stronger statement. B didn't include much. Okay. So the consensus was for statement A, but I did have a couple people answer B. All right. Okay. So statement A is probably the stronger thesis statement. That is likely accurate. But their statement B could use a couple more things just to be a little bit stronger. I really like all these responses. If you think about it in the 3-part thesis idea, you do have that statement A says homeless people in California should be given access to services such as regular food donations, public restrooms, and camping facilities because it would improve life for all inhabitants of the state. So even though statement A is a little bit longer of a sentence, a little bit more complicated and wordy, it gives everything that I know that your paper would be about if you were writing about this. I know that you're going to touch on food donations. I know you're going to touch on public restrooms. I know you're going to touch on camping facilities. Those will probably be your 3 body paragraphs. And I know that you're thinking these things because you think it would improve life for all inhabitants of the state. So this one uses transition words as well. It uses such as, it uses because. So it's explaining to me in full force what this paper will be about and why this person feels so strongly on this part of the argument. Statement B, there are high numbers of homeless people living in California, which can be very bad for the economy. How is it bad for the economy? What are you going to talk about besides the economy? It's very broad. Which part of the economy? Like, why is it bad for the economy? Which part of the economy? How are you going to convince me that the high number of homeless people living in California is bad for the economy? Statement B can be a little bit more specific. I know statement A does look very big and wordy maybe to some of you, and I understand that. You could even break up statement A possibly into two sentences maybe. Some people from period 2 said statement A seemed like it should be the introductory paragraph. And introductory paragraphs are still 3 to 5 sentences, preferably leaning towards 5. So if you are thinking about it in that way, you can give background information in the first 4 sentences and then conclude your paragraph with a thesis statement. You could also use statement A and statement B together and make your own more a thesis statement you're more comfortable with that isn't as long or as short as either one of those. You can use things from both elements to make your ideal thesis statement. But I love all these answers and they're great, and I'm really glad that you guys have backed up your responses. I wish someone from statement B would have gave me a solid argument for their claim, but it's okay. All right, moving on. And guess what it's time for? It's time to climb. So all my competitive peeps out there, let's get it going. All right, let's do this. So pick a character, press start. It's going down. So if we just talked about thesis statements and transitions and some general mistakes, think about that going into this game, what you think it might be about. So remind yourself real quick of things we talked about. I got 15 players ready. I need 18. I got 16 players ready. Okay. Alrighty. Ready. And let's begin. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, in the following exercise, identify the problem with each of these potential thesis statements. Is it too broad? Is it an announcement rather than a statement? Does it contain more than one idea? Or do you think this thesis is good? Click on the statement that best expresses your answer. My childhood was extremely stimulating, although in many ways I was sheltered. So those are the directions for the next 4 questions, okay? So you're identifying what you think about this thesis statement in each of these questions. Is it too broad? Is it an announcement? Is there more than one idea? Or is it a good thesis statement? And by more than one idea, it usually means conflicting ideas. $30 seconds. Ten, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that one, it said my childhood was extremely stimulating while I was also sheltered. Those are 2 conflicting ideas. So likely that would be more than one idea. Computers have changed our society. Is that too broad? Is it an announcement? Is it more than one idea? Or is it a good thesis statement? Does it have enough information? Is it two conflicting ideas? Is it good to go? Or are you telling me this is what my paper will be about as an announcement? 20 seconds. If you're not sure, just guess, guys. 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1. So that one's a little broad. I have no details. I don't know how it's changed the society. I'm not sure if you're saying it's a good or bad change. All of it. The female characters in Major Pettigrew's Last Stand reveal predictable behavior according to their class, age, and ethnicity. Is this too broad? Is it conflicting ideas? Is it an announcement? Or is it good to go? $20 seconds. We got 2 more questions after this one. Five, 3, 2, 1. All right, so that one's a good to go thesis statement. It is a 3-part thesis, and you are ready to go with that thesis statement. School breakfast should be funded because eating breakfast can positively affect academic performance in children and adolescents. Children being young, adolescents being teenagers, middle school, you guys, high school. Is this too broad? Is there not enough information? Is it more than one idea? Is it an announcement, or is it good to go? Is this enough to write a paper with? Ten, 5, 3, 2, 1. School breakfast should be funded because eating breakfast can positively affect academic performance in children and adolescents. That is good to go. It's a little less detailed than a 3-part thesis, but it's still a good thesis. Last one. I will discuss the problem of drug addiction in this essay. Is that too broad? Is that more than one idea? Is it an announcement, or do you think it's good to go? I will discuss the problem of drug addiction in this essay. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is an announcement. Good job, Melvin. Good job, Sophia, Estella, Jamila, Nicholas, Octavio, Carmelita, Jamel, Priscilla, Bryant, Elizabeth, Rodrigo, Angel, everyone. Good job, you guys. Top 3 right there. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize how much time we had left. Oops. Okay, never mind. We're just going to do the exit ticket real quick. Sorry about that. I didn't realize we were running out of time. That happened last class too. My bad. Okay, so this is a 3, 2, 1. This is your exit ticket. What are 3 new things you have learned, 2 things you already knew, and 1 question you still have? Please, please, please finish this one because this is going to help me determine what I'm doing with you guys tomorrow and what we need to go over tomorrow, okay? So please just type in your answers. They don't have to be full sentences, but I really would like to see it.